and a very active member in the Pride celebrations in different forums. So today we'll be talking about different things on what he does, mainly because he has worked as diversity inclusion lead. He has done a lot in relation to corporate environments and has how to make that more inclusive. And we'll talk about all those things in this session. So I'll just start by asking Shobik as to what you do in terms of diversity, inclusion, and your involvement with the queer arts movement.
So I'm a member in Queer Arts Movements. Whenever we have some event or any fundraising events we are organizing, I be and I collab with Romal. I work under Romal and work with Romal to make a space, safer space for the queer artists all over the India.
And yes,
Yeah.
in
You were
terms
asking
of
about
the
the diversity, in terms of
yes.
diversity inclusion. So I have moved into corporate activism where I work with different organizations, say it's startups or sometimes big organizations. The organizations I have worked with to create and make safer space for the queer community, for the LGBTQI plus communities. For example, like having posh laws which are gender neutral. Second, advocating either gender neutral washrooms or separate washroom for the trans community or trans community people belonging to trans community. And in that way we go ahead and I do basic sensitization with different organizations so they can know about what throughout the year, so that they know about the LGBTQ communities and how they can incorporate different policies which will make the community members safe in terms of having a workspace where they'll be welcomed and they don't feel discriminated or judged.
Yeah. So, just taking on that in terms of the POSH Act that is there. So, for viewers, the POSH Act includes to sexual harassment at workplace. So, in that, I would say so. In most of the organizations, it only includes women, and mostly it is presumed that it's heterosexual women. So, it's only the harassment that usually that is done by men to women. So, can you just tell us a bit more on how you have made that more inclusive to include more people?
Yeah, so it's happened because once I was so at the start beginning of my career when I was not out out and loud of the closet, and someone from my organization, someone from my previous like at that time of organization, they found about me through somehow through Facebook or something, and after that it was a constant molestation or a series of touching or I can say what I can say like unsolicited comments, which was really demeaning, and you know that that's things are someone's touching you, and we all are grown enough to know when the touch is not good. So I tried I tried to spoke with the HR there, and they are like, it can't be happening, it can't be helping you because we don't have this kind of law. So and what to say, you if you are gay you are going coming to him, he is not coming to you, I already come, he is married and all. So that was a very depression of like, it's very depressive phase to hear this kind of things when you're going and reaching out to human resource department and they are saying that why would he or the molester will come to harass you instead of you are the one who's going home. So then from that I make it a point that corporates needs to make posh laws or posh policies which are gender neutral in that way. So after that, I have worked with a few startups, which are the beginning stage. And since the startups have given me ample of opportunities to work with the HR team and build the policies which are very inclusive, not only to the gender, not only to the members of the LGBTQI plus community, but also for the cis hetero female and male. So we sat together and we tried to figure out how we could include creative. The first step was to create a employee resource group, and the second step was when that employee resource group is to create a posh committee. So that committee has to have like we created in a way that committee has members from the queer community along with women, and we try to keep it less hetero, less cis male dominant. As you can see, most of the organizations and corporates, they have says that male in the posh community and very less female represented, which make no sense at all, to be very honest. So we created, the step was that I asked them to create a group of people who are from the community and of different gender identities, along with cis hetero for the binary people. And then we lay out that the things that it should be heard, and that was the first step which you take. And this is the policy I prefer. Like, I have placed in 2 3 startups. I'm sorry, I can't let you know the name of the
Yes,
places
yes,
right
sure.
now because of the NDAs we have been signed. But that's how I have worked towards creating a safe place and making sure that our voices are heard. If anyone from the, say, non-binary or female or binary people are being facing molestation or harassment in the workspace.
Well, that really sounds amazing, and I'm sure it would have been very difficult. It's very difficult to uphold POSH in the first place, even for the scenarios where it is more accepted concept. So I can only imagine how difficult it would have been for you to come up with the policies and make the companies actually accept it. So, can you tell us about some of the initial challenges you faced and how that have progressed? So, maybe initially you had more challenges, and now maybe people are more acceptable to including or having a more inclusive corporate environment. So, can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So basically, the first challenges, if we start the best, first of the challenges was that people do not, people are not educated about different sexualities and different gender identities. So when I say that a non-binary person is being harassed, they'll be like, "What is non-binary? Can you like, who are these people?" And I was like, okay, the problem is here that they don't know. For them, most of the people from cis hetero society and even many of the allies, it would be like, so allies are someone who supports queer rights, right? It doesn't mean that they will have the knowledge of every sexualities and gender identities we have in the world. And so it was a big thing for me. Is like to first to go to create that posh thing. I need to sensitize this workplace. So this organization needs a sensitization. So what we did is we organized a sensitization workshop, which was for 2 days. The first days was like basic question and answer round, where I find out what are the things we are lagging behind. And it was shocking that 75% of the people in that organization, and mostly the people we have seen till, like I have seen till now, 75 to 80% people, they only know there are two sexualities, that is being gay and lesbian and bisexual, sorry, three. And the third was like they only know one gender, that is three genders, that is male, female, and transgender. They don't have any idea about non-binaries or gender non-conforming and things. I was like, okay, so I have to take a step back and replan the second day of the organization. And the second sensation was like, and there's a lot of questions coming in, and I realized that there is a lot of myths and I can the stereotyping happening going over there. So I create a PPT to describe every nooks and terms, which will help every people understand what are the different sexualities and different uh, gender identities we have in the world, and how sexuality and gender identities are very fluid. And it's just we have been taught or conditioned to know only two identity gender identities. That's when that was assigned at our birth. And so that was the first step. And when I started the basic sensitization before moving to the posh thing, was like I tried to work and sensitize with as many as organization I could till now, either through freelancing or either during Pride months. Mostly Pride months are the time when corporates become very awoke about our rights and they come to us. And the second thing was like, even not during the Pride month, apart from Pride month, also I used to host sensitization once or twice a year in the organization that I am working on, so that people would understand the different uh, understand and learn about the different sexualities. So once that barrier I started closing, it became a little bit easier for me to approach the heads in the higher level of the hierarchy and management, that what are the policies needs to be done to make very inclusive, some of the companies were very accepting and open nature, that they were very like eagerly ready that to include to make the changes, and others have some issues where they face like where they have they want to do but they don't have the resource. So that I realized in that some of the companies and organizations, they are based on some locations and say some buildings which has been for a long time, and since that building has been made a very long time ago, there are the washrooms in that buildings, and they have only two washrooms separately, which cannot be like, and to add a third, like to make a gender neutral, there's no scope to make gender neutral, or maybe because there is no space to create one more thing, a washroom. So then I had realized that okay, so they have don't no space to create a third washroom for say non-binary people or people from the community. So in that case, we make forward for the gender neutral washrooms there. So that is one how I have worked with one of the biggest agencies where I have helped them creating a gender neutral washrooms in their places. Second thing, what happens when we talk about inclusivity, we have to keep in mind of the people who are disabled, physical disabled and all, right? So suppose a building which is erect, like which has been established 20 or 30 years ago, and there is no scope, you cannot deconstruct or demold it and create a ramp. So we have to keep those things in mind also. So it takes times to create this kind of policies, and to be very honest, in 6 or 7 years, on in 6 years of my career till now, I have seen a lot of companies from like the places I've worked and the places I have worked with regarding this have increased a lot, become more accepting, and they are ready to make the changes, but they know like, and we also have to understand that these policies would affect them. There's a lot of factors which involve like creating a gender neutral washroom. It's not about they just go and put the gender neutral sign there, right? They have to make sure it's usable by both things. Then the money factors also is there. Most of the things we do realize that funds are not something which HR controls. They have to be assigned to the HR for time to time being. So there are a lot of things which we also have to understand in order for them. So the main thing is like we have to meet in the center of the. We have to make two steps. They have to come two steps, and then that's how this bridge was drawn. So these are the two things in there.
That is so nice to hear. Where there are a lot of corporates that are moving towards gender neutral toilets or having a more accessible office, at least if they are having new offices. So there are a lot of corporates that are moving towards those things, which is good to see. It's a very nice progress. But in terms of the way the prejudice or the stereotyping that happens in general in society, I would like to ask if you have faced any such prejudices, or I would say, like, would you like that there are certain prejudices that you would like to address or tell us about that affects you in a corporate life? Because the corporate life, it revolves around a lot of things, from your work timings to incentives to promotions to bonus and a lot of things. So is any stereotyping or any prejudice attached to the progress that happens there?
Uh, there are like stereotypes are there, I won't deny, and stereotypes are there because stereotypes are not built on something mythical.
Yes.
They exist because they are a thing, but generalizing it is not a good thing. So I do remember that in one of the places I have started working on, and now I have moved. So I have made a switch in my career. I have done engineering. I worked in the chemical industry, and then I moved to IT, and then slowly have made my way to the communication industry, working as a content and copywriter. And during this journey, when I so first or second company I was working with, when they find out, so two of like my first company, it was there, and two of us were hired at the same time. Though I had better qualification and experience, I was my pay scale was really less than, like, I would say 30 to 50% lesser than the other person who joined with me with lesser qualification and lesser experience than me. So that's where the discrimination starts, and you have to go forward. Like, you need to be treated as someone who's based on your qualifications and your skills, not based on your sexuality. It is very disheartening to know that. And then when I slowly started mingling with other peoples from different companies in LI and from the community members, and I find it's constant thing which is there. So we are working on it, and it will take time because prejudices, they are agreed. And prejudice faced by me is like, so working in advertising, like advertising industry, it's very much cool because we don't have to follow a rigid what can I say, formals or dress code, in that we can wear whatever we want. So that was a fun because no one asked me why I'm wearing a scarf or in that. But in the other ones, there was times when I've been asked why being a guy you are wearing a scarf in your shirt and pant, and why are you wearing kurta at office, and why all these things. I was like, this thing has to change, but it's working. It's time, but we cannot force it to them, right? Different corporates and different buildings and different formal rules. It will take them time to understand how it's work.
Of
So
course.
the key is to educate them, to sensitize the organization to build more inclusive policies which would help. And they could start they can start basically was like adding pronouns in their email signatures. Then for example, any internal communications we are doing and companies are doing, instead of using just he or she and slash, they can simply use they. That would cover everyone. Or
Yes.
either he she, if you're intended to use he and she, start using he slash she slash they. That would be main easiest. I think we have a question here. Hey, you are really inspiring. I had a question. Being from Northeast, where there are other struggles back at home that you had to face as a queer person. Okay, that's traumatic. The answers would be traumatic. I do agree.
I actually was
So,
going to ask you the same thing. So, because you moved from Northeast to Bangalore, and Bangalore is one of the one of the
and
more
my
accepting
transition to
places.
Bangalore was not directly from Northeast to Bangalore,
Okay, okay.
and I do have to admit that in 5 years, Bangalore has become my home. Bangalore is a lot more accepting and warm for the queer people, and even the queer community here is so much warm and welcoming. So I moved to Nagpur first for my graduation when I did my engineering there. So addressing the questions, okay. So I'm literally old. Feel answering this answer, I feel really old. So the thing is that I am from the age when I was growing up. We don't have fancy phones with internets. We don't have access to internet that much, or rather, I would say there is very less. Like when I passed out, like when I was in 10 or 11th or 12th, that was the time when I had heard about Orkut. It's after I moved to college I came to know about all these things. So growing up, it the struggles were really real because first of all I didn't know about myself, my sexuality during that time. So it was normal for me not having feelings for any girl, and I tried to instigate those feelings, but I used to like I had to blush like a teenage girl if any guy would flirt with me or something, and I was like, okay, that's weird and something like. And since growing up, I always had friends like girlfriends more than the friends like guy friends. So in my school group, my group was considered like my group has 6 girls and then 3 guys only. And since I have grown like in spending like 12, like 1 to 12, like from 1 to 12th in one school, so my friends like this that group has been a strong connection, and the other girls. So growing up, since I have grown up with girls, I like playing cricket and other stuffs. Apart from boys stuffs, also I used to play cricket and kabaddi. But generally, people used to be like school and all. People were be like, I don't you want to use the term. You guys can understand the terms that was used for the transgender community, trans women, and transgender community in regional Hindi or other languages. It start with H. I have been called that. I have been fat shamed, not fat shamed. Fat shamed. I have been fat shamed. Doesn't matter. I have been femme shamed, like femme shamed a lot. Like why you're like girls, why you walk like this, why you talk like this, why your hands are like this, and that's traumatizing. And I remember there was an incident in during when I was in school, when uh, someone with someone I had my first infatuation kind of thing, which happened during a national trips and all, and someone heard the news that and they started saying that I'm gay and all this, and I don't have the knowledge and idea about that. And that was I was 15 or 16 at that time, and since we don't have that knowledge and all, those things, and they don't use the term gay, they use the term mita or good, and that was really confusing and demotivating. And then after that, I was back in school and back at home, and we went to school after that trip was over and all. There were a few seniors and juniors who locked me in the washroom. They bit the shit out of me. They opened my shirt forcefully, and oh god. And there was groping and other stuff, and they kicked me in the shin badly. They kicked me in my lower abdomen, and it was. I haven't discussed about this to a lot of people, like literally no one during that time, because it was. I am ashamed because this happened with me, and if I go and tell people, people will be blaming because I know how I have grown up. So yeah, that was something which was a lot. Then when I was in college and I came to know about my sexuality, it was hard for me to accepting myself because of all the past things which I have gone through. But I realized, like, when I started accepting myself, when accepted myself completely, it was very powerful, and it gave me the strength that whatever happened in the battle, they don't have the strength to do it right now, because I know myself and they can't scare me. They can't scare me away. And so yeah, the bullying was a constant thing which I have faced growing up. Like, and thanks to, I have friends who are supportive of me during that time, even without knowing that I am gay, or I also not knowing that I am a gay. So that was a really thing I have faced there. And you won't believe, if you, in my town is a very small town in the state of Assam, and even if I wear a short and go to the nearby, if you wear a short and t-shirt, go to, like, being a guy also, people will stare. It's like they are doing something really wrong. And so you can guess what's it, like, how it is growing up and how it has been to go work like that.
Yes, yes. It is very disheartening to know that you had to go through so much bullying and people who just don't accept or bully you for just being who you are. But it is at the same time so inspiring to see that you are doing so much for change and so much for creating awareness and making people accept everyone the way they are. So that is very inspiring indeed. So with that, I'll just like to move on to there are a lot of things on how to be an ally. We have this initiative where we try to create awareness, talk to inspiring people like you. But according to you, if I ask you that I want to be an ally to the initiative that you have or the struggles that you have faced, I want to be a part of it and to contribute in making a world a better place for people who are supposedly different for the society. So, how would you describe what an ally is in general, also, and also in terms of in corporate world? What would you say an ally to you is?
So an ally to me is, like, in general, who supports our right, who understand, who has empathy for ourselves, like for us and our community, and they work hand in hand with us to create a better and safer place at the corporate world for us. And in general, who supports our rights, who believe that we have the right to love, we have the right on our body, we have every other rights, like every other human being who are heteronormative. So that's the basic definition of ally and understanding for me. Now your question is, if you say you want to be an ally, and what should you start with? First is, like, now it's very easier for people to go on internet and read about different sexualities and genders. Do that. Do your homework, research, read, understand. First. Second thing is that try to connect with people from the communities, because when you hear our stories, it give you inside depth. It will open the worlds to understand what are the things you should do and what are the things you shouldn't do. Number third, never go and ask around people how we have sex. I'm tired of answering this question or listening this question. Like, people came left, right, and center and asked, "How do you have sex?" I was like, "Okay, that's not none of your business at the moment right now." Then there's a misconception that just because the binary world and the heteronormative world has one husband and a wife, the second question which will come is like, who is the husband, who is the guy, who is the boyfriend, who is the girlfriend? No, 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 it's not like that. So these questions you should not ask, because these are basic things you should not go and ask. Like, second, the third thing is asking pronounce. It's a good thing if you ask pronounce, it feel appreciative. Second thing, if you have question, you ask. just make sure you have to be sensitive about us, because we have gone through a lot. Like everyone in each day and each seconds, like anywhere in the world, some people, like any people, like some people from the community would be getting bullied, harassed, or going through a trauma right now, which we don't know. But you have to be sensitive. Won't you be sensitive to people if it's from this heteronormative community? They will be. You will be, right?
Of
So
course, yes.
asking someone something, you have to be really sensitive. So be sensitive. Keep in mind, we are people. We feel like we get hurt if you ask some questions which you. And before asking questions, I would like you to ask something to yourself first. Like, how would you feel if someone come to you and ask you this question? If you feel it would hurt you, then you should not ask that question. Apart from that, you ask any question you want to know about Trump. You want to know about different sexualities, you ask to us. You ask us. You want to know about different gender identities, you ask. We'll give you examples and what and how to approach and how to talk with them. And it always better to listen and not judge. Try not to judge people based on how they look and how they are.
That is actually very I think those are very basic things that everybody should know. Like it is just, everybody who is watching and will watch this in future, I think what Shovik is saying is just having basic decency to behave like a normal person with another normal person. It is just very basic things, I think, that all of us should do as an ally, which is just being a nice person to other person for, and like them for who they are. I think that is what the gist of it
Yes,
is.
and second thing, and that is the most important thing, is that if you are an ally, don't just walk with us to show in the Pride Works to show that you are a support of allies, and yeah, go around on Pride months changing your theme or rainbow washing your profile. No, like if you are an ally, be throughout the year, throughout the time.
Of
If
course,
in your
yes.
inner circle, if someone is making a transphobic or homophobic joke, casual, even casual joke, it's okay. There are no people from the community around you, but if you hear someone of in your group or friends making this kind of joke, stand up, call out, make them understand it's not right. And if they are uneducated about this topic, make them educated about these things. And that's how you generalize things.
Of course. And with that, I had one question about what corporates do, because a lot of companies are there who, during the Pride Month or the some of the other days that celebrate people from the LGBT community, they change their logos or maybe give out one or two posts and all those things. But at ground level, they aren't doing a lot, probably. So, do you know any of the things that are happening with maybe the government or in general as a policy that maybe more corporates are incorporating now rather than just celebrating a Pride Month?
Uh, for that, I have to do a survey, but based on what I know, there are very
Uh-huh.
few companies who are doing the real work on a ground level, and rest of are just rainbow washing their social media handles and professional handles to make the pink money. But there are companies who had been along, like with the community, supporting community from ages, like Absolute Vodka, Google. These companies had been a like proactive advocate of our queer rights since the beginning, and they have supported the queer movement from the beginning. So other companies should take a lesson from them and do. These companies are doing a little by little changes throughout the day. So there is one agency which is one of the biggest ad agencies in the industry in the world right now. They have created a paternity leave for parents who are non-biological parents, who are adoptive parents, who are queer parents. So these are the policies which we have to think and we have to work on towards.
Definitely. I think it's just revolves around being just more sensitive to people and their lifestyles.
Yeah,
And
it's and then this and that, like when two of your employees are working with you, you cannot give one benefit to one and the other benefit to other, because both are working maybe at different levels, but like maybe at different departments and different departments and different aspects of your business, but they are giving 100% to run your company and they are being profitable. They are giving 100% to your company, and you should make sure that you are catering to both of their needs and both of their rights and rights have been made. As an employer, that's their an organization's responsibility, and that should be more more open-minded in making the policies and try to make sure the policies are gender neutral.
Of course, that is very important. And just in terms of the numbers, that the numbers of the number of people who are represented from the queer community in the corporate world, because this is something that I also learned with my research and with my experience, that the more you are represented, the higher voice you have, or at least people at least try to normalize it when they see a particular community represented in a large number. So.
Yeah.
Just to tell the viewers also, the UK has a contextual recruitment system. Slowly, they are trying to transition into that, where they ask about your social background and your sexual background, and they give preference to people who, or they contextually recruit. Basically, they give a bit of a preference to people who belong to a marginalized community, whether sexual or social. So, do you know if something like that is being taken up in India, or do you think that this could be something that the Indian corporate should also incorporate?
Yeah, this is something which Indian corporate should work. They are trying. The very few companies are there who are working on that. There are many companies who collaborate with different organizations and NGOs to hire from the community and help people from this community. So the thing is that, yeah, I agree. There are a lot of people. If there is a lot of representation of from the queer community in the corporates, the voices will be heard. But the first step we have to take, again, we have to take a step back, and then first is like that we have to make that space, a workspace, safe and inclusive. Otherwise, how would you expect people to join there?
Of
If you are
course.
asking them to open, like join with open minded, like if they are open and already out in the closet, out of the closet and join there. Okay. Second thing is a lot of people are scared of coming out in workplaces because they know the discrimination and the harassment they might fall. Second thing. So the first way to do is like sensitize your company, organization, and your employees. Second is create inclusive workspace. Third is create a resource group which will give other people, even if you have one or two members from the community, if you create a resource group, employee resource group, it will help you to create gender neutral and inclusive policies, and which will help you hire more from the community, and it will give assurance from the like for a community member, it will be assurance for them that yeah, it is a safe place, I can go and work in this organization because they have resource group, they have members from the community, and yeah, it's a safe place, I would like to join and work there. And if they are safe and they feel happy and motivated, they will work and they will take your company towards better, and that's how it works, right? So they have to start with the first stepping stone, which is sensitization, and second is creating a resource group, and then going ahead with creating gender neutral policies. And then hiring system has to also be. So if you see, if you go on LinkedIn and check all the job postings, and there you'll find very few companies will mention he, she,
Yes.
or them, or or they will directly use the word they and theirs to make it gender neutral. So that's how companies should start making the policies.
Of course, that is all very inspiring and actually very insightful to know that there are so many things that companies can do, and even small or big, any organizations that can do that. That is very nice to know. So, just I'll bother you with one last question: Is
Please go ahead.
can you leave us with one very fond moment that you have from Pride Month or any Pride celebrations, maybe in your office or otherwise? Any fond memory that you have of Pride Month or Pride Week or anything of that sort, if you can leave us with that.
Yeah, it was in my previous organization during Pride Month. We are working on some policy. Like before Pride Month, then all we are trying to work. My HR, like HR of that company, come to me and came to me and asked that we are trying to make gender neutral policies, and I need you to go through the document was and see if there are gender neutral enough and all. So we did, and during that only, so generally October to November is celebrated as Pride Month in Bangalore, because
Yes.
Bangalore's Pride happens in the end of November every year.
Yes.
So during that time, my HR asked me to HR from my next previous organization, they asked me to do a sensitization session for the diversity inclusiveness in our office, and that was supposed to be in 1 hour session, but it went for almost 2.5 hours because people are so interested and they were so eager and they asked a lot of questions. And I was like, yeah. And when it was all done, I have seen a lot of changes. Like the people who had no idea, they came up to me. Like, it was really nice for me to know that how these things are. And there is one person who came to me like, you have changed my viewpoint about the transgender community, and now I'd be happy to answer, like talk for them. And even if my child is now growing up, or if my grandchildren are growing up, I would be able to answer them and make them correct the ways which were not done in the past. And I really like that. And so after I left that company, and sometime last year during the Pideman, they announced they have like they have a they have updated their insurance policy, which give insurance benefits to the partners of. They have removed the term wife or husband, and then they have
Okay.
made it partners. So it gives benefit to the people of the community also. So that was really
That,
nice from that. And Pride Movement always will be the first Pride I have worked in Bangalore in 2017.
that is so nice. That is all so nice to hear. And I really appreciate the company that, firstly, I think it is a big thing for the companies to understand, to make to like cross check the policies with a member who actually belongs to the community, to see what policies are necessary rather than just making some policies thinking what might be necessary.
So
So
yeah,
I
that's why
think I,
there is the importance of the employee resource group to be like
Mhm.
creating an employee resource group and how it helps.
Of course. That is also inspiring, Shovik, too. And thank you for joining us today, and thank you for telling us so many things.
Thank you for having me over. It was really nice to have this chat with you, and you guys are doing a really great works. I have seen with Shlok and all the work you guys have done. Keep doing it. Stand like we have to stand against patriarchy if you have to make the changes and make things more better for everyone in the world.
Thank you so much, Shovik. And we hope to see you here more and do more things
Always.
with you. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
sure, sure. Same here, sure. So have a nice day and have a nice weekend. Happy Pride Month.
Same to you.